Hi everybody. I have a client question and it feels like it wants to kind of maybe be broken up into a couple different videos. So we'll just see what wants to come through. But the first part of the question is, how do you know if you're denying or suppressing something? Repressing something? It feels like a lot of these questions go back to that building a relationship with yourself and learning to trust yourself. And so just having that patience and that commitment to really having this beautiful relationship with yourself is definitely a key, because everybody's going to pick up on things very differently. It also feels like we could talk about how some people are more feeling sense and some people are more visual, auditory. There's even that just internal knowing, and we don't really know how or why. Even our sense of smell. Some people have a really heightened, adapted sense of smell, and that's how they pick up on signals and cues. So all of your senses are a part of you building this relationship with yourself, and it does feel like over time all of your senses get heightened, and really you can draw on all of them. But as people are really starting to open up and trust themselves and listen to these cues more and more, a lot of times they have like one or two really strong scents that they can rely on and start to work with, and then the other ones just kind of gradually open up over time. So just trust, like whatever your heightened senses, just fall into that and start to trust and rely on it more and more. And you can start off small. You can start to listen to that internal guidance and strong, still inner voice in that sense, like with easy or small things that aren't like going to be so detrimental if, oops, I didn't really pick up on that cue correctly. It was telling me something else. I encourage people to start off small with easy things, so it's not that big of a deal and detrimental. If the way you listen to that was maybe showing you something else and it was a little different. But how do we know if we're denying or repressing something? I think when we slow down and we ground and we become slower and stiller, we get out of that I need to know thinking mindset. You open up your energy field when you feel safe, so you go somewhere like here out in nature and you start to open up your ears and take in all the sounds from everywhere, and you start to take in not only the visual, like what you can see with your physical eyes, but also like expand your sight to go far beyond into the invisible realm and what lies further and further and further, what you can't physically see. And then you can start to feel the essence of that space and the essence of you, and you can start to open that feeling sense. You can start to open the clear knowing, and that one might be a little bit harder, so don't, like, if you try really hard or if you're overly focused on it, you'll lose it. So it's a softening. When we soften and let go, we open naturally. And you can take in all the smells. And your body becomes a part of that. It's not just what's outside of you and all around you in the environment. You can start to feel maybe where you're holding hunger or tension, where you feel relaxed. You can start to feel your heartbeat and your breath. You might be able to start to feel like the energy vibration, your pulse and blood moving through your body, and also tingling and like just like an energy moving that's inside of you and outside of you. So when you go to a place that's kind of your safe place or comfort place, and you sink in and soften and open and expand, and then start to really take in with all of your senses, then you can bring a question to your heart or to spirit, however you want to call that, and you can pose that question. How do I know? Because it's deeply personal. How do I know when I'm repressing or holding back? And then trust that clear knowing in whatever sense. Like, you might feel it in your gut, you might feel it in your heart, you might feel it in your head, you might, it might feel very uncomfortable. You might have this really deep sense of like, that's something I know I need to do, and I'm not allowing myself because of fear or past trauma, or whatever. And then in that space, you kind of have more of a knowing of like, okay, this is something I'm definitely repressing. And then you don't have to always just go into action mode and then do the thing that you're holding back. You might be ready for that. But it might be you still need to soften, and you still need to feel safe and open and expand. And so, that might be the next thing that you are ready to do, is to work on trusting and feeling safe. And sometimes the whys show up and they're helpful and useful, but they're not always helpful or necessary. And so, like, why am I holding back? Why? You can go right back into that conscious critical thinking mind and make a mess of it, and then you lose that intuitive, deeper sense that's a whole body, internal, external space that we just entered into. So you really want to go into that space, and then if something comes up like, yeah, I'm holding back because I'm afraid, then you can be like, do you want to talk about that? When you start to talk to yourself in this really loving, gentle way, and then see like where do you feel that in your body, and go into that space and just sit and breathe and be patient and propose, like, is there a memory tied to this, or is there anything that you want to talk about or share about what you're afraid of? And to become more of the listener, not the person that always has to know, figure it out, fix, correct, but just start to be the listener in your life and in your body, in your emotions. It's so beautiful because just entering into that space, energetically and physically right now, to share this with all of you, it actually makes me really emotional, because it reminds me of all those times that we are not the listener in our lives, and how deeply every part of ourselves wants to be heard and listened to. Not like that constant like person that has to dominate and, well, don't you mean this, or maybe you should do this instead. Because when somebody has something to say, they don't always feel heard when we go right into correcting. So to be the listener in your life, for your body, your emotions, your memories, your future, your present moment, your relationships, everything, your career, to just be the listener. There's something really beautiful about that space, and it's not so much about what do we have to do. It's can we show up and not know what to do and just listen and start to build a really healthy foundational relationship. And then with that, the trust will grow, and you'll just know. You'll know if, no, this is actually, it's like that muscle testing that I talked about in another video. You know, if you're kind of getting pulled towards something, even if you're afraid, you know, you can be afraid and be like, oh, but I still want to do it. Or if you're getting pushed back, and it can be like, I actually want to do this, but I'm being pushed back. Like it's, for whatever reason, it's just not the right time, or not the right people, or I'm just not, I'm not meant to do this right now. So the muscle testing is also kind of a way that you're building a relationship, and you can understand and know if what's coming in is for you to listen and follow the breadcrumbs and the hunches that are leading you to action or doing something, or if, you know, it's showing up just so that you can be more mindful and hold space for yourself for any past trauma or fear that might be showing up. So how do I know? That's a very, very good question. And it's not a blanket statement that says, how do I know? Well, this is how I know all the time. This is me. This is how I know. It's an ever-growing and expanding relationship, and it's a mystery. How do you know? Because you show up and you listen. You soften and you feel safe, and you feel ready, and you open, and you trust whatever comes. And you always have gratitude, and you give thanks for whatever it is. It might be what you thought, it might be what you wanted, it might not be. So what a great question. I'm just going to sit here and really enjoy that space that this question opened up and created, where all of me can feel this environment. So thank you so much. And I'll reread the whole thing that you sent, and see if there's a couple more pieces that want to come through in a different video. But all my love and blessings.